Good morning, everybody, and I'll start by saying that yes, we feel the proximity with the Russians, have always felt it, but for some strange reason, we still continue to be the happiest country on earth. 7 years in a row. No, I just wonder what needs to happen for us to lose that position. Haven't figured that out yet. At the end of the last great fireside chat, there was a sentence mentioned that I didn't know of the Finnish connection. Let me tell you that every connection in this country, which is digital, is a Finnish connection. Because every time you use Google or any mobile device, it goes at least via 2 Nokia routers. So any connection is by definition a Finnish connection, which I'm proud to announce. I think our sisters and brothers in Sweden, they cover part of that as Ericsson, and we are happy to provide this service for our American allies. I would like to start by thanking the museum. This is my 5th visit to Washington State. The first one was actually only 3 years ago, right after the peak of the pandemic. And I think Eric and his team, you've been able to create an atmosphere here that I always feel like coming home. It's such a privilege and honor to work with you, and we've done a lot together. And you've also been, I would call it, our embassy and cultural center here in the West Coast. When I came for the first time, that was in September 2021, I came with an agenda. And my agenda was mainly really optimistic and idealistic, to do good, to develop things that we knew that people and companies in this area did need. Our first goal was to bring 5G to Tacoma Port, to improve its efficiency, to reduce the emissions, to make it more competitive, and eventually we succeeded. One of the projects was because we knew, of course, that Washington State has a lot of forests. Finland is the most forested country in Europe. 76% of the area is covered by forest, and forestry is one of our key industries. We knew how big potential Washington State has, and we've done that cooperation since then. These are only a few examples which are, I think, highly relevant. But those were my key points when I came. And I really thought that we could focus, and I could focus not only in Washington State, but overall in the US, I would focus on how do we develop solutions for the better world in terms of energy, clean energy, better working society, digital society, etc., etc. Then what happened a few months after my first visit here, and we actually signed the same kind of MOU that Sweden signed yesterday. We signed that in November 2021. But after a couple of months, what happened was that Russia illegally invaded Ukraine. And since then, we did realize that, well, we were trying to bring good, do good things. We also had acquired another mission, which was to defend our countries, our values, our people from these evil things that our neighbor unfortunately does. So we actually did get or receive a kind of a dual mission. I know you Americans love to speak like I can walk and chew gum at the same time. And I think this is going to be a bit more complicated, but I think it kind of sums it up. So we have to be able to defend ourselves while we develop solutions for the future. My first point concerns the security environment in Europe. And and even more globally. I think we are living the most dangerous times, at least for Europeans, since the Second World War. We have a massive war going on in Europe with hundreds of thousands of casualties, no end in sight. All the broader conclusions, it's much too early to draw them, but I think we are seeing a massive change in our security environment. At the same time, we of course, we are, I think somebody mentioned, we are thousands of miles away, I think it was Jonas, but the world is interconnected. So we also, of course, see what happens in the Indo-Pacific, which is far closer to you guys here. We have a lot of tension, a lot of risks emerging, and it also influences us. So nobody can kind of hide away in this interconnected world. Thirdly, I would say we also have increasingly fragmenting global economy, global trade patterns. One example of that fragmentation is obviously that Russia is now, it used to be highly interconnected with European economies. Now that is almost totally gone. For my country, we used to give to Russians before pandemic 800,000 visas a year, more than any other country in the world. Now it's zero and the border is closed, so nobody moves. So it gives you the example of how big the change actually is. As to Russia, I used to serve there as a Finnish ambassador for many years before this posting, and quite often people ask, how does this end? What's the solution? How are we doing? Can we wrap this up, end of this year, early next year? When? That's quite often the question. My own kind of conclusion from the situation is that, and I know people usually don't like it, is that Russia is, as a country and as a society, is in its comfort zone, waging a war. There's no kind of a spread feeling or shared assessment among those people that we need to get rid of this war. It's a normal thing, they have got used to it, they feel they are winning, they are advancing, they have the initiative. So there's no hurry on their side to find any kind of a solution. We also believe that we are actually moving further away from a sustainable settlement of the conflict. What I mean by this is that the crucial point and kind of a condition for the sustainable settlement would be that Russia, its leadership, people, would sincerely and truly respect Ukrainians' freedom and their right to choose, their right, their sovereignty, those basic things, basic rules of conduct in the international life. We don't see that happening. On the contrary, they are moving further away from that kind of understanding. So this war has really deep roots, and I think those roots in the Russian society are only growing deeper. Unfortunately, we also see that whenever and however this conflict will be settled, we will not have Russia as it used to be as our neighbor. I think many of those changes we are seeing will be irreversible. Like, for example, we believe that the role of Chinese business, Chinese companies will be totally different in the Russian society and economy. So it will be a different country in so many respects that there will be no return to the situation that we used to have. So I think we have to be, when assessing security environment in Europe, we have to be extremely realistic. It's going to be a long war. It's nowhere near ending or finding a just solution. It will require a lot from all of us on both sides of the Atlantic. And you know what kind of personally sometimes bothers me when we talk about the Second World War and all those horrible things that happened, atrocities that many people became victims to, including the Russians, including Ukrainians, including also my nation. We always mention the same words, never again. It should never again happen, never again. In case of Ukraine and many other cases, the never again moment is right now. It's right now. So we can't wait and be passive so that we will then, after 5 years, say, again, never again. Now it's time to act. Now it's time to help. Now it's time to support, to make sure that we can uphold as allies those rules of international conduct, which are the only way to the civilized world and order, that also these good things that these fine gentlemen spoke about just before I got here. My second point, the Nordic response. What have the Nordics done as a response to this calamity? First of all, I think it's obvious for everybody here that the Nordic countries, we are the best friends. Finland used to be part of Sweden for more than 600 years. I can read a Danish newspaper, but if I have to listen when a Dane speaks, I don't get a word. But we are interconnected. We know, we understand each other, and I think we are really united, all separate but still united in so many ways. I think one of the responses, which is obvious to you, was that Finland and Sweden decided to join NATO. And that, like it was mentioned by Jonas, meant that for the first time in several hundred years, since the 14th century, all the Nordic areas countries are under the same alliance. The only remaining task that I said yesterday evening already is to get the Norwegians and Icelanders to join the EU. So we still have some tasks left, but what it means in practice, it means that we have better deterrence in the Northern Europe. We can optimally plan our defense within the alliance, and it strengthens our security, but it also strengthens the security of all our allies, including the US. Secondly, all of us, the Nordics, we have helped Ukraine a lot. My country, we are one of the most active helpers, including the defense help, so we send a lot of heavy material to Ukraine, and I think all the Nordics do the same. Third response, defense industry. We are all investing heavily in defense industries in order to be able to continue helping Ukraine and to be able to defend ourselves. Then, what about this chewing gum part, the developing things? I only take one example, and I think the last fireside chat about energies is a great example. Finland used to be a net importer of energy, electricity. And actually the share of the imported energy was fairly big. Now in 2022 we had to stop all the imports from Russia. We were actually, last time we were self-sufficient was in the end of 70s. Now we are it again. And now 94% of our electricity is emission-free. So we've been able to become self-sufficient, plus we are almost there fully emission-free with our energy system. And that's a massive development for my country. There was a discussion about these green electrons. Where should these data centers go? There's a lack of energy. I think come to Finland. Come to Finland. I mean, it's an easy answer because we have, I can say this without the ambassadorial kind of ethos, that we have the best grid and most reliable grid in the world. The cost is fairly low and it's emission-free. And it's actually quite a cool climate, so you don't need so much electricity. But I think this is the future, and we are building that definitely. So I would say that we have to learn to be, I call it, modern Vikings. We have to be able to defend our values, be stubborn, solid, and strong while doing that. while at the same time we need to develop solutions for the better world so that it's cleaner, it's more efficient, and it also paves the way for having an equal, well-functioning, stable society. But as a modern Viking, I would wish you the good continuation of this event. Thanks a lot.